spring, everybody. I am so glad that you are stopping in to check out what's happening at Tutoring with Cheryl. And I'm actually gearing up for my summer tutoring right now. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about spelling, because that is something that I help a lot of struggling students with, is spelling. And I think sometimes we think, oh, if spelling was easy for me, it should be easy for my kids. And suddenly we find out that it's not as easy as it is. And they come home with this report card that says they're either doing poorly in spelling or writing. And the reason they're doing poorly in writing is because their spelling is so bad. It's this vicious cycle. So what I want to talk to you about is cognitive load. Okay, so there's an argument out there that says that writing is a complex job for kids to do. Well, really anybody. If you get a piece of paper, even just sitting down to make myself a list of things that I need to remember to do, sometimes I'm just like stuck. I don't know where to start. So that cognitive load, thinking about coming up with those ideas. What is it that a child needs to write about? So we're transitioning back to kids. Coming up with that idea, organizing their thoughts into a sentence, using correct grammar. I'm not supposed to talk the way my parents talk. I'm supposed to talk the way my teachers talk, and maintaining the physical act of actually writing, like holding the pencil correctly, and then not having your hand curved in and or using some weird pencil grip. And then, of course, the spelling, the act of actually spelling things, because spelling struggles are going to break down the flow of thought, because kids are going to go, did I spell that correctly? Okay. So one of the things I will be going through, and I'll give you some ways to deal with the spelling issue. But if you're dealing with the writing issue, tell your child, let's just get it written down first, and then we'll come back and we'll look at the spelling later. Vocabulary is definitely a trap as well. Kids are going to use substitutions for words that they don't know how to spell. Okay, so let's say instead of saying the machine was colossal, they'll say the machine was big, because they know how to spell big. They don't know how to spell colossal. Maybe they've heard of the word colossal, but they don't know how to spell it. Or instead of saying, this particular character is frightened, they'll say he or she was sad. And so it's going to slow them down, and they're not going to have the rich writing we're hoping that they'll have. And so instead of bringing home marks on their report card or their checklist, or however it's being communicated with you as the parent, you're seeing information like, well, average to below average. And you're like, but they're a great storyteller. And they here at home, they write great stories. Then I want you to think, how much are you helping them with this story? And are you reading it, or are they reading it? Because kids will read what they write much differently than what it's actually written. I know, because I taught for years, and I would look at that and I didn't make any sense of it. And then they would read it and I'm like, oh, it makes more sense now. So there's this link to reading, because spelling and reading are two sides of the same coin. Reading is the decoding, or breaking the words down, and spelling is the encoding, or building them back up. So if a child is struggling to spell, it often means that they don't quite have those patterns figured out. And so they need more practice with them. So improving spelling actually strengthens their reading fluency. And that's why all of my students work on spelling at some point during the week in their lessons, because I feel it is so important. And I've seen the directly impact my students. So when our students can focus their attention on every single letter that is in a word and know the sound, and they know the spelling patterns for different types of words, they are going to be able to not only read better, but they're going to be able to spell better. It's really interesting to see. So let's say that your child has written something and it comes back with all these marks on it, and they're like really alarmed. First of all, I want you to tell them, say, look, you were able to write something down. This is great. Your teacher's just trying to convey to you what areas you need to work on. So if it's, punctuation, capital letters, spelling, vocabulary, whatever it happens to be, or just writing fluently with great sentences, they need to make improvements on their descriptions or whatever. Don't have them panic over that, because the job of the teacher is really kind of like a coach. They're trying to give you more insight into what they're seeing on your work. And sometimes, they're sitting at home at night, they're tired, and they're just going through the paper. they're trying to provide feedback for you. They might not be able to meet with every single student in the classroom. Like when we think about the size of our classes, they're so large. And your child is maybe going to take that to heart and feel badly about it, but really try to help them understand that it's just a form of communication, that they're trying to give you that information in a way that maybe you can sit down and you can think about it. So when they get that information, their brain might say, well, I'm a bad writer, and they might start to avoid any kind of writing tasks at all because they're thinking, well, I'm not going to get it right anyway. Or they might just rush through the assignment because they're like, well, if I put anything down, it's going to be better than nothing, right? Or they might not want to write anything down because they're worried about their spelling. As a matter of fact, I've had students who give up in school because they cannot spell. And sometimes, you know, I will do my absolute best to get them over the hump, but sometimes we just have to find even sometimes a different tutor that will help them overcome the block. Because if I've worked with a student for 3 or 4 years and they're to the point where they just don't want to do it anymore, then we know that we need to find somebody else. But I get students who've worked with other tutors or been in other classrooms and they start to work with me, and then they're like, whoa, this is like fantastic. You're really showing me how to do it. It's when the child doesn't have the resilience to keep working that is a little bit more troubling than not being able to get it. Because learning a new skill is hard, right? And I really want you to tell your child, you know, give them examples of things that are hard. And I try to tell my students the same thing. There's some things that are just really hard for me to do, but I just have to keep working at it. And I might not ever be, you know, the best, but if I can learn how to spell, and maybe I don't do it perfectly all the time because I catch mistakes myself quite often, but if I can identify where the mistake was and go back and fix it, or if I can use my spell checker and choose the right word, so there's the clincher there, they have to be able to choose the right word, then we know we're making progress, okay? So I want you to think of spelling like a keyboard on a computer. If the A and the S keys keep sticking, it's not going to matter how fast the processor on that computer is or how great the software on that computer is. It's going to be incredibly frustrating to get a simple email written, okay? We want to fix the keys so that their great ideas can get onto the page without getting stuck. And so I have some suggestions for some things that you can do at home that you can work on with spelling at your home. And then if you're just still stuck, make sure that you reach out to me because I have some systems in place that are actually working very, very well for many children. And you can even take the lists that they are working on with me and apply some of these things at home. So for the child that's really tactile and kinesthetic, they need to be moving or they need to be manipulating some things. I think sensory writing is really a great thing. And way back in the early days of my teaching career, we had a spelling test every week. And I thought, you know, gosh darn, let's come up with a great way to clean the desks at the same time. So I brought in some shaving cream, gave everybody a little bit on their desk and said, write your spelling words in it. It's a great way to clean the desks. Your classroom's going to smell amazing and the kids are all going to have fun practicing. But you can do that with sand or salt on a cookie sheet and just have the child write their words with their fingers. And this physical sensation is going to help them reinforce the letters that are going with the sounds as they're practicing it, and have them actually say the word as they're doing it, the sound as they're spelling it. So if their word is rain and they're working with the AI sound, saying A, as they do it. You can do this with letter tiles or magnets as well. I used to try to keep some letter tiles at school. And I found an old Scrabble game that nobody was really using, and most of the tiles were kind of missing, but there was enough there. So I just put them in a little bag, and some of my students would want to practice that way. So the physical activity of moving that around is what some kids need. Now, there's a new thing that I found. It's called stair stepping. And this is a great way for the kid with high energy and they just want to move all the time. So if you have a set of stairs at your house, then have them each time they're spelling the word, they're going up the stairs and or coming down. You know, once you run out of stairs, you got to come back. So let's use the example of rain. R-A-I-N, you stop, drain, D-R-A-I-N, strain, S-T-R-A-I-N, and then they're back down the stairs, however many stairs you happen to have. Or just literally have them write it in the air. Use their favorite pen, use a magic wand, use something to write in the air, and to go through that, because those motor skills are definitely going to help them remember it. There's a lot of kids that really are visual learners. And one of the things that I used to love to do is I would tell the kids, get out your markers, and each letter of that word, I want you to use a different color. So rain again, purple R, blue A, yellow I, black N, rain. Okay, and then maybe you even want to have them underline the vowel pattern in there and say that sound out loud. Word detectives is another activity. You can look for small words inside of big words. Like if you found the word heart, you could say, do you see any other small words inside? And they're like, I see the word ear. Well, right. So by itself, it might say ear, but in the word heart, it says art. Okay, so then you're looking for little things like that. And then this is a method that teachers have used for years. It's the look, say, cover, write, and check method. So they're going to look at their list. They're going to say it. They are going to cover up their list. Okay, flip their list over, write it down the way they think it should be, and then they're going to check it. Okay, so I'm going to look at my list. It says, I look, rain. I spell it, R-A-I-N. Oh, I'm sorry. I flip it over. I spell it R-A-I-N. I flip it back over to check it, and then I move on to the next one. Super, super simple, but highly effective. Now, some things that you can play at home that would be some activities that you could do is you could play hangman. So take the list, and if you've never played hangman, what you're going to do is you're not going to write the word. I actually have my marker board here, so I'll just grab it and show you. Let's use rain as our example, okay? So we're going to, because there's four letters in that word, I want 4 spaces. Okay. And then I'm going to make my platform for my little guy that's going to be hung. And, you know, it's kind of not a great thing, I guess, but it's something that we should do. Maybe you want to build a bunny. You do whatever you want to do. But we'll go with hangman for right now. So then I ask, you know, my friend says, is there an S? And you say, nope, there's no S. And maybe you want to put the S down here so that they remember that they chose the S. And now my student or my friend has the head for the person. And they say, oh, well, is there an A there? And you're like, yep, it's right here. Okay. And then they say, is there a T in there? And you say, nope, there's no T in there. And then pretty soon you're building the body of that person. So you want to have the body not built by the time you have spelled out the word. So that's hangman for you. And look up another video on that if you want a better suggestion for that one. All right. And then you can do the word scramble, where you take each one of the spelling words on a piece of paper, and you might maybe cut them into, cut it up. So this is actually a list that I was doing earlier, but let's use this idea for rain. Okay, and I'm using a marker board marker here, so it's not so great, but there's rain. You cut it out and you say, put this word back together. Okay, so they know that it's on their spelling list and they're just manipulating it. But you can go as high tech or as low tech as you want. Something else that you can do is you can use voice recording on your computer, on your tablet, or on your phone, and they just listen to themselves spell it. So you could use the method of the look, say, cover, write, and check, but this time they're saying it out loud as instead of they're writing it down, they're saying it out loud. So you can do it that way. And then typing practice for older students, just typing, so they could write it out first, and then they could type their list, and then they could write it out again. So maybe they write it in manuscript, their whole list, and then they go to the computer and they type it out, and then they go over to their whiteboard and they practice their cursive with it. Any repetitions that you can get in is going to help them. You know, I was just watching something earlier today talking about how children are not memorizing things. It's a skill to memorize, okay? And spelling is not a pretty thing. For some people, they were never expected to spell. For other people, they don't think that there's importance behind it at all. But I firmly believe that spelling is a really important thing for us. And You know, I am not a perfect speller. I will be the first person to tell you that. But when I'm teaching other kids how to spell, I become very aware of it. And because I know it is so important and will actually speed up your child's fluency with their writing, I really, 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 really want you to consider doing something about your child's spelling. Now, if this is the first time that you've met me, I'd like to do a little bit more of an introduction to myself, which I probably should have done at the beginning. So I'm going to pull up my website so that you can check out a little bit of the information about me. I am a seasoned educator. This is my 36th year in education. I have been working with students inside of the classroom and now outside of the classroom for 4 years. So that gives me 36 years of education. This is my website. You can find it at tutoringwithcheryl.tutorbird.com. The address is right over here. When you come into Tutoring with Cheryl, you can definitely check out some information about how I run my sessions. But one of the things I want you to know is that you can book a session with me. You can do that very easily by filling out the contact sheet, or you can simply just click up here. And I do my Meet the Tutor sessions on Fridays at 3:30 p.m. or 4 p.m. Central time zone. If those times don't work for you, please just fill out the contact form. I do call. Don't give me a non-working phone number because I do call you. And if I email you, please respond to me because I get a lot of people who are asking questions, but sometimes they don't answer. And then I'm like, well, you know, I always follow up. I want you to follow up too. The parent portal is for current or pre-registered students. So once you're in here, I will assign you the parent portal once you've talked to me and said, yeah, we want to move forward. And then when you get in there, you can check out your child's lesson schedule and find other dates and times to meet with me as well. I am currently booking for this summer. I have availability in the morning and the evenings in the morning, Monday through Thursday, and the evenings on Monday and Wednesday. If you would like to get your child signed up, make sure that you use the contact page and we'll get the conversation started. I work with students in reading, writing, and spelling, and I have to say it's such an honor to have such an impact on children's lives. I hope that I can help them move through whatever is holding them back and be ready for the start of their new school year. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. You guys have a great day and keep the learning going.